Take a look here at some of this video. You've probably seen it a lot, as it's been just over a week since a shooter opened fire on children praying at a Catholic school over in Minneapolis, killing 2 young students ages 8 and 10 and wounding 18 other people. Vice President J.D. Vance visited with the families of the victims just yesterday, saying one child still remains in critical condition after that attack.
I would just say take the concerns of these parents seriously. I think all of us, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, want these school shootings to happen less frequently. Hopefully there's some steps that we can take to make that happen. One of the ways that I'm going to try to honor these parents and the children that they lost is by being a better dad and hugging my kids tight tonight and making sure that they know that their dad loves them, because there are 2 families who are not going to get that opportunity ever again. And if you do have kids, if you're lucky enough to have a son or a daughter, make sure that they know that they love you. Make sure that you hug your kids tight.
And again, this is some of the video back from August 27th as all of this did happen. Aerial footage provided by our Fox 9 Minneapolis team. The attack has served as another reminder to law enforcement and school districts across the country as they look for ways to keep students, teachers, and staff safe in the classroom. 1,000 miles away from the shooting site in Cascade County, Montana, Sheriff Jesse Slaughter has been working hard to do just that. Sheriff Slaughter joining us now live to discuss that. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Honored to be here.
And I did want to start off by asking you, when you hear about a situation like what played out there, what happened, a horrible tragedy at Annunciation Catholic School there in Minneapolis a little over a week ago, what does that tell you about school safety and what you need to be doing there? Does it resonate with you, and how?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not doing enough. We're not even doing close enough. You know, government has a couple of primary functions. And number 1 is public safety. Number 2, I'd say, would be infrastructure, for example. And when we see these things happen over and over again across our country, and government doesn't actually step up and do what it actually needs to do to solve this problem, it angers me. I'm super passionate about kids. I've spent my entire career, over 25 years in law enforcement, and my focus has always been on protecting children. And I respect Vice President Vance's statement and his opinion, but the reality of it is this: these answers are very simple. And we have to harden our schools. We have to harden them by security. We have to harden them by using good technology. We have to harden them by having better communications that immediately alert law enforcement directly. We use an application in my county for that. You can't have a 911 call happen when you have violence in your school. By the time the 911 dispatcher puts in the call, the carnage has already occurred. And the bottom line, and the most important thing is, if we're going to stop these horrible evil doers, these sickos, these absolute lunatic psychos, and that's what they are. And I don't want to hear any other excuse about it. We need a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. They have to know that they're going to face immediate death if they try to harm our children. And that has to be the message that our country sends to our kids. We value money in this country more than we value our children. You go to any bank, you go to any federal institution that guards money, and there's guys with plate carriers and AR-15s guarding it. We guard our money more than we guard our children.
And you kind of touched on this already, but I was going to ask you about what specific initiatives you have put forward there in Cascade County. What's been done, and maybe how can other counties, other states across the country do something similar?
Well, it's simple, and it's all about priorities, Josh. First thing you got to do is this. You got to harden your schools. You got to make sure that you have single point of entry. You got to make sure that people coming into your school are vetted. And sometimes it's simple things. I think sometimes we want to go to like the active shooter, complexity to make it a big issue. But sometimes it's a kid taking a kid on a parenting plan when they shouldn't. And then it creates a massive child custody issue or a kidnapping case. So we got to harden our schools. Single point of entry. That single point of entry has to be monitored, and it has to be vetted for the people coming in and out of the school. Then you have to use technology. There's AI technology out there right now. They'll identify weapons in school long before they're deployed. You got to implement that. You have to have direct cell phone connection from teachers direct to law enforcement. You have to bypass the 911 dispatch because it doesn't work properly enough. Then you have to do training. We've been doing fire drills in this country for decades and decades. And I can't remember ever seeing a child die of a fire in a school because we do drills. So we do lockdown drills, we do evacuation drills. And then again, I'm going to go back to it again. And this is the most important key. And Governor Walz proved it just 2 days ago when he decided that he was going to call back legislature after this tragic event. And his only solution he has to offer the American people for this horrible tragedy was to take advantage of this tragedy and take away law-abiding citizens' gun rights to solve it. And at the end of the day, you got to have a good guy in there who's trained, who is a deterrent to stop them from coming in. If you do those things, you don't have school shootings. But if the worst case scenario happens, then that bad guy who's coming in to do violence will be met with violence. And that's exactly what needs to happen.
Where do you think overall that Montana rates when it comes to school safety, just as a whole, as a state? Where does it rate on the national scale?
I would say we rate pretty high. And I would say that we are proof that having gun rights and having law-abiding people exercising their constitutional rights, if you have a concealed weapon permit in the state of Montana, the only prohibited place that you cannot enter with a gun lawfully is a school. So the fact of the matter is we have constitutional carry here. We have very, very liberal gun laws in Montana. And the reality of it is we don't see these events occurring as often. And I think because the bad guys are in fear that there's going to be a parent or someone picking up a kid who's going to do harm to them. But it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I am vigilant about this. Just because it doesn't happen frequently here doesn't mean we shouldn't do everything to make sure it doesn't.
When you see something like the situation there at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, you have parents and maybe students, some of them who are concerned. So what message do you have for the folks there, the parents, the students, staff at schools across Cascade County?
Get involved. Get involved. Demand that your children are guarded like our money is, that they're guarded like some of our fancy buildings in places. I mean, how many places do we go to across this country where, you're actually met with armed security? You go to casinos in Las Vegas. That's your proof right there. There's armed security everywhere in there. And yet, we're protecting money and we're protecting monetary value of things, but we don't have the same standard of protection for our children. It's disgusting. And the problem I have with that is, as a culture and as a society in the United States of America, we have to value our children. By protecting them, we show them that they're valued. We show them that they matter. And that's what builds their self-confidence and self-esteem. And that's what lets them know that they're worthy of us spending whatever money we have to spend in this country to solve this problem.
And my last question for you here before I let you go, what message do you want to get across to other law enforcement agencies and school districts that are not there in Montana, but maybe elsewhere, about why they should also implement what you're doing?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm just going to tease this up here right now. There's more to come. We have a plan, and we have a plan to be able to take this out nationally. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a hard battle, because I know people are going to try to fight us on this. And I don't understand why, but they will. These solutions are very simple. They don't cost very much. Our governor, Greg Gianforte here in Montana, signed a paid reserve bill, which allows us to pay our reserve deputies to deploy them into our school. And we're going to implement that here soon, which is a huge cost-saving, effective measure. But we have more coming that's going to be way better. But people have to get behind it, and parents and teachers have to demand that they are worthy of being protected and that they are valued, and that every school in the country should have an armed, sworn, trained professional in the school, at least one, if not more, depending upon the size of the school. You have to create the deterrent. Josh, if we do it right, 10 years from now, we'll be on this same show and you'll call me back and you'll say, Sheriff, why are we spending all this money on school safety? Nothing ever happens. And then I'll say, and that's exactly why it worked. And that's where we have to get in this country, and our kids got to be the priority.
All right, Sheriff Jesse Slaughter there in Cascade County. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Anything we missed? Anything you want to add before I let you go?
Just get involved. Get involved with your school board, get involved with your local sheriff, get involved with your local chief of police, and tell them that my kids deserve to be protected. And don't take no from an answer. Remember, you are the government. We work for you. And in my county, I'll tell you right now, it's a resounding people want their kids protected, and it's because they stood up and spoke, and we need that nationwide.
All right, Sheriff, thank you again for taking the time to be here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.